again, this is going to be our last video for this. And I just want to remind you that I did post this on Schoology for a PDF, so if you want to use Kami to write on this, that's a really good idea. I suggest it if that works for you. Otherwise, you can take notes on your notebook. So here's our first modeling problem. So Fred was gifted with $50 gift card for Captain's Coffee House. He plans to buy a cup of coffee every day at $1.25 per cup. The amount A of money left on the card can be modeled by the equation A of x equals 50 minus 1.25x, where x is the number of days after receiving the gift card. So help identify the following. So how much money will be left on the card after 1 day? So kind of just breaking this thing down, how much money will be left on the card? That is what the variable A is representing. So here our mission is to try to find A. Well, if it's been 1 day, day is referring to the x's. So that means x is 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our value of x equals 1 into our equation. So this is like finding A of 1. Amount after 1 day is equal to 50 minus 1.25x, which we're replacing with a 1. So if we can put this over here, it's going to be like 50 minus 1.25 times 1 is 1.25, and 50 minus 1.25 is 48.75. So after 1 day, he will have $48.75 left. In a similar case, how much money will be left on the card? That means you're trying to find A after 5 days. Well, if it's been 5 days, that's your x value. X is 5. So we're plugging the same thing in. So here we're trying to find A of 5. Well, A of 5 is given by 50 minus 1.25 times 5. So if they bought 5 cups of coffee, however much that is, $6.25, and then you subtract that from 50, how much money is left on the card? I get about $43.75. So that's how much money is left on the card after 5 days. So the first two are very straightforward. Now the next two are going to be the backwards ones I was talking about in my earlier video, if you remember from a long time ago in class. How many days? Ooh, that's a different problem. That means we're trying to find x until he has $15 left on the card. That means A of x, that whole value for y, is 15. So in this case, you're solving for x, the number of days, when the value on the card, the amount A on the card, is 15. So our setup for this one is going to look like 15 is being substituted in for A of x, and that is going to be equal to 50 minus 1.25x. And our mission is to solve for x. Start this by getting x alone, by first getting rid of that 50 over here. So we're going to subtract 50 on both sides, and we're going up here. You should get negative 35 equals negative 1.25x. And we're almost done. Divide both sides by negative 1.25. And you should get about 28 days. 28 days later. So x, again, is our number of days. And so 28 days later, you will have $15 remaining left on the card. And you can check that by plugging it in. What's 28 times 1.25? Subtract that from 50, you should get 15. For the next problem, how many days, again, we're trying to find x here. Find x. Until he cannot buy another cup of coffee. Well, that means that he doesn't have enough money left. For our account, we're going to assume that he's got no money left on the card. I did make this one turn out nice. So until he cannot buy another cup, that means that the amount is all gone. Goodbye. So very much like in the last problem, we're going to set this one up. We're going to say, suppose he's got no money left on the card. How many days until that happens? There's our setup for that. Subtract the 50 to start on both sides. Bring that over here. I really wish I had more space. So we'll have negative 50 equals negative 1.25x. Divide both sides by negative 1.25. And my calculator, beep boop bop bop, says 40. So after 40 days, the card will be zero balance, all gone. Awesome. So now, putting it all together, 5 and 6, let's tie this into domain and range. What's the domain represent and what is it? Well, again, the domain is the x values. So what is x referring to in our problem? X is the number of days after receiving the gift card. So domain refers to the days that have passed. And then now finally calculate what the domain actually is. Well, the domain, how many days could pass? Well, you can't have -4 days pass. Can't have any negative days pass. So, I mean, you could have 0 days pass. That would be okay. And then I suppose 40 days would be your limit, right? Because after 40 days, you have no money left. So, I mean, theoretically, you could say 41, 42 days, but you'd have no money left on the card. That's not meaningful. So our domain in this case is anywhere between 0 and 40 days. That's a 4. The range, what does the range represent? Well, the range is the y values, and the y values in this case is this a of x, which means the y value is the a, which is the amount of money. So the range represents the amount of money left over. And what is our range? Well, how much money did we start with? 50 bucks. That's the most we could have. So it's always written, domain and range is always written from low to high. And what's the lowest amount of money we could have in that card? Well, the lowest we could have is $0. That happens after 40 days. So there's a quick run through of a modeling problem. You got 3 problems that we're going to work through in class. Try them out and we'll reconvene from there. Thank you.